The iPad Pro 2021 was announced earlier this year with an impressively powerful M1 chip with an almost impressively expensive price point, and Samsung's response to the powerful iPad Pro would come in the form of the Samsung Tab S8 and S8 Plus. But for now, all we have is S7 and S7 Plus, and recently on YouTube I've seen frequently a lot of comparison videos between the iPad Pro or the M1 iPad Pro and the Samsung Tab S7 Plus, which I think is an unfair comparison. So I figured I would bring out the iPad Pro 2020 and the Samsung Tab S7 Plus and bring you guys a comparison video. And if that's what you're looking for, then this video is for you. So let's start off with the design. The iPad Pro sings a familiar and classic design we all know and love. It houses a uniform bezel around the screen, giving the user an 85.4% screen to body ratio. We have Face ID sensors up here at the top, and that is the only method of unlocking the tablet because it doesn't have Touch ID. Right next to it, we have the selfie camera, and flipping over to the back, you will find a dual camera setup. Moving on to the side, we have the Apple Pencil Pad, USB Type-C port, and the pins for the keyboard. And thanks to this tablet's quad speaker setup, the sound quality is exceptional. Now talking about the Tab S7 Plus, this takes a more unique rectangular shape, and once again we see a uniform bezel surrounding the screen, offering an 84.7 screen to body ratio. We also have a selfie camera, which is also what we will be using for our face unlock. Unlike the iPad, however, we also have an in-display fingerprint scanner to unlock the tablet in addition to the face unlock. We have a metallic rim that goes around the tablet, and once again we see the same quad speaker setup, and these are tuned by AKG. I have often noticed the audio on the Tab S7 Plus tends to be louder than on the iPad Pro. We then also get a USB Type-C and a micro SD slot, which allows the user to expand the storage. And finally, flipping it over to the back, you'll find a dual camera module with a magnetic strip, which will function as an S Pen pad. As far as design goes, it's completely subjective. There is no way of certainly telling you what shape or form takes the win, but in my humble opinion, the Tab S7 has a design that I'm particularly attracted to. Now, where the winner stands is in specs, but before we dive deep in, if you're new to this channel, welcome of course, and we love having you here. And if you like the content so far, please do me a favor, make sure you smash that like, share this video around with your friends and family, and subscribe to the channel, because that's one of the best ways you can support growing creators like me and other growing creators on YouTube, right? And once again, we appreciate you so much, and thank you once again. So now let's talk specs. The iPad Pro is loaded with A12Z Bionic chip coupled with 6 gigs of RAM, which proves to provide outstanding performance. This is built for productivity, and the 8-core GPU in the A12Z Bionic is exceptional as well, which does very well in graphic-intensive projects and graphic-intensive games. The Tab S7 Plus is running a Snapdragon 865 Plus and is also paired with 6 gigs of RAM, and this chipset offers no less. This machine is a productivity beast and is built to get things done. So the overview is that both of these machines are productivity focused, but where they stand depends on what projects you wish to have done. When it comes down to graphic intensive projects, which can be things like editing videos or photos, the iPad Pro might be the go-to, and that's because the iPad offers very well optimized professional apps in relation to the apps offered in the Android platform. Now when it comes to administrative tasks and multitasking, the S7 Plus takes the win. The user experience offered on the Tab S7 Plus when it comes to simultaneously using various apps is stellar. You also have Samsung DeX built into the tablet to push the tablet into the desktop world. With the snap of a keyboard, the interface changes to offer more desktop-like feel. Now discussing further, at the base, the iPad Pro offers 120 gigs of non-expandable storage, whereas the Tab S7 Plus offers 120 gigs of storage and expandable via the use of a micro SD card. Now when we talk about the screens, both the iPad and Samsung S7 Plus both support high refresh rate at 120Hz, and this just takes the user experience out of this world. The iPad Pro has an IPS display with a very high color accuracy, and the screen can become very bright with an average brightness of 559 nits. The resolution here is 2048 by 2732, offering true tone color and sharp images. The Tab S7 Plus, on the other hand, offers users a Super AMOLED display with a resolution of 2800 by 1752, and one of the perks of having the AMOLED display is the high levels of contrast that can be achieved, which ultimately translates into darker blacks and reds being very, very red. Although the screen is not as bright as the iPad Pro, emitting around 500 nits of brightness, image quality is extremely sharp. Both the screens are amazing, it's just a matter of preference once again. In my opinion, if you're just looking to sit back, kick around, just watch your favorite shows on your favorite streaming service on your tablet in the Super AMOLED display on the Samsung Tab S7 Plus, is the go-to. It's definitely the winner. The display on this is pristine, it's clear, and it's just absolutely amazing to watch your favorite shows on this device. Moving on, the camera is usually the least of concern. We're talking about tablets, but it's always interesting to see how they stack up against each other. The iPad Pro has a 7 megapixel true depth camera, and then the Tab S7 Plus has an 8 megapixel front-facing camera. Both are perfectly fine for video calls, which is probably the only time I use them. So the Tab S7 Plus does have an edge thanks to its better camera placement. The iPad Pro has a camera on the shorter side, and in the case you have the iPad mounted to the Magic Keyboard. The camera is off to the side, which can be inconvenient when typing and taking notes during the meeting. Whereas S7 Plus has a camera placed right in the middle on the longer side, and so when you're sitting in front of the Tab S7 Plus, you will be centered perfectly in frame, very much like you will be when using a laptop. Now switching over to the back, the iPad Pro has a 12 megapixel main camera, has a 10 megapixel ultra wide plus a LiDAR scanner, right? The Tab S7 Plus, we're looking at a 13 megapixel main camera, a 5 megapixel ultra wide, and just not going too much into the specifics, the iPad Pro crushed the Tab S7, has far superior image quality and more frame rate options when you're looking at 4K recording and slow motion recording. Now the LiDAR scanner, although a cool feature, is something I've rarely used, and that's something you want to think about, right? And you got to ask yourself, are you going to be using these devices for video recording purposes? And if yes is the answer, then the iPad Pro is absolutely your pick. Now when we talk gaming, there really is no difference. Both tablets offer very similar gaming experiences. Now moving on, the iPad Pro is compatible with the second generation Apple Pencil, which offers a well-optimized user experience to work perfectly with compatible apps like Procreate. The Apple Pens offer amazing tracking with high accuracy. The Samsung S Pen, on the other hand, is sleek and has a very natural feel resembling that of a pencil. The S Pen has very responsive feedback and extremely fine point, which only translate to higher accuracy and movement. So now that we made the comparisons, the question boils down to, what is your use? What will you use your tablet for? Are you a professional artist? Are you always juggling between many tasks? Both the iPad Pro and the Tab S7 Plus are exceptional tablets. The iPad Pro 2021 with the M1 chip only takes experience to a whole new level. But this video was strictly to compare the iPad Pro 2020 with the Tab S7 Plus. With the Tab S8 Plus coming around soon as a response to the iPad Pro 2021, I'm just as curious to see what we have in stake. So be sure to come back for more tech updates and amazing content. Until next time, peace.